If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com.
Football Saturday, so come on down and watch the home team play. Now we're talking football, it's time to cheer. Pac-10, football is here, so come on down and help your Cougars win. It's Wazoo football time again. Bring your friend. Do a little tailgate. Football Saturday, and you got green lights on the way. Cougar football's a family affair. You know all your friends will be there. So come on down and help the Cougars win. It's Wazoo football time.
It's our last official Old Crimson show. I think we'll do one for the bowl game, but the boys are all here. Paul Sorensen, a former All-American safety at Washington State. You can follow him on social media at Paul Sorensen 28. You know, you don't have one follower. There's someone on this panel that does not follow you, Paul, and I think you can take one guess who that is. Also here is the go-to guy, Jim Moore. Of course, you can follow him on social media at Cougs Go. Read all of his work at Jim Moore, thegotoguy.substack.com. You can follow me at Puck Sports. We were going to finish up the final Old Crimson regular season edition. We'll do one, I think, probably when they get announced to whatever bowl game they're going to play in, and then probably, after they get through the letter of intent and the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to break down the season. We'll look at what went right, what went wrong, the positive, negatives, letter of intent day, transfer portals, all that stuff, bowl game projection. We do it every single week, all thanks to Flat Stick Pub. 6 great locations across the state: Kirkland and Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, where Paul is, Bellingham, and Redmond. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. Paul, how are you? How was your Thanksgiving? You had a good time with family and friends?
Yes, we did. I'm just disappointed Jim's not following me on Twitter. That's a little disconcerting. Jesus.
I didn't know
Jim,
you were on
would you
Twitter.
like to react?
He's been mentioning it. It's right under my name. It's right there. I mean, how do you not follow me? That's not very nice.
That's what Puck told me yesterday. And,
I would have gotten
you're
up to
right.
7 followers now. That'd have been exciting. I could have had 7.
Why are you not following him? Is he just
Are
not
you mad at
entertaining
me?
enough for you?
No,
or what's
I told
the
you
deal?
yesterday, Puck, and I'll tell you again today. I didn't realize that he was on Twitter, and it's an oversight on my part because, as you mentioned and Paul just mentioned, it says Paul Sorensen 28 right there on the screen, and when you introduce him as being an All-American every single time, and I have to listen like, God, Paul. Paul was a terrific football player. He really was, but I didn't know that he was on Twitter, or else I would be following him, because we all know that Paul has a great sense of humor and probably is a fun follow on Twitter. So I'm going to, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to hit that follow button.
You can do it right now. You can multitask.
You want me to try and do that right now and just screw up the whole program?
No, that's true.
Yeah, then he'll have open things, and we'll have some weird noise coming in. There'll be you have to let a dog out, and a duck will fart.
Fair point.
There'll be goofy stuff going on. So
fair point, Paul.
Let's just stay in the show, and then we can do that afterwards.
As I told the go-to guy, Paul, on Monday's taping of the Daily Puck Drop, my favorite activity Monday morning is following you on Twitter, because you go kind of silent all weekend on Twitter. You got your games, right? You're watching football, you're covering Eastern Washington, you're traveling. Then everyone's tweeting about all things college football, especially the Cougs, right? And then Monday morning, you've decided to go through all of those feeds and retweet everything. So I wake up in the morning to see 15,000 fucking tweets from you because you've retweeted something from Coug fan or Washington State.
That's
something.
true. That's totally fair. No, that's totally fair. I agree because I'm trying to play catch up, which is awful, and I suck at it. I'm terrible on social media, and so I have to. That's you. You are an animal. You guys are much better at it than I am. I'm a curmudgeon on that front, but I do try to catch up. I do try to, and there's a lot of good stuff on there, and there's a lot of stuff that's a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah,
but
there's nothing good. There's nothing good on it. It's unfortunately a necessary evil. All right, Jim Moore, let me start with you first. You're the wordsmith. You were the man who better than us can pontificate on how this season went. 6-6. Good season?
Yeah, I thought it was better than good. I thought it was a great season. I'm typically negative. I think I'm probably known for that and glass half empty all the time. But I love the season this year. And I know we can if and but and say, God, I wish this had happened. I wish that had happened. But still, overall, 75 new players. We've been talking about it all year. The new coaching staff coming in, all these kids that I wasn't quite sure if – I thought it was cool that all these South Dakota State kids followed Rogers over to Pullman, but I wasn't sure if they'd measure up at this level of play, and they measured up and then some, especially defensively. So I've got no complaints at all. I look at the last – when was the last time a team gave up 59 points on consecutive weeks and then managed in the next 8 games to hold their opponents to 12 points a game? It just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Usually when a team gives up 59 points 1 week, let alone 2, they're shitty, okay? It's a shitty defense. They're not talented enough and they have poor coaching. Well, we were talented enough when we had good coaching, and look what happened. And so for me, I'm excited about seeing a 13th game. I know it's a lower rung bowl game where we're playing. Nobody's going to be excited if we go to New Mexico, but I'm going to look forward to watching this again because I had a hell of a good time watching Cougar football this year.
Paul Sorensen, same question to you.
Yeah, I would concur with what Jim just said. And I think when we started the season 6-6, 7-5, and, you throw in basically the 9 points that separated wins, this could have been an 8-4, maybe even a 9-3 kind of team had they been able to, all those things break free. I think the Virginia game was, a fair catch away from a win. That makes you 7-5 right there. Oregon State, good God, that was an awful loss. That's really the one game that I'm most disappointed in terms of what they did when they just kicked their ass in Pullman, and they should have won that football game, played poorly. That's really the only game that I had a problem with all season long, in terms of how the Cougs played. But then they bounced back and they imposed their will and really played well. And, and so overall, and we talked about this at the beginning of the season. I've seen a lot of FCS football. I've seen some really good teams, with North Dakota State, and South Dakota State, Eastern Washington back in the day, Montana State. They're guys that can play. Cooper Kupp, you might remember him pretty good. Jerry Rice, Walter Payton. There's dudes that have come out of that league that have been really, really outstanding. And I think Jimmy brought guys that had a chip on their shoulder. And I also wanted to say, something about the Angel Johnson guy, when he comes in, in terms of doing what he did, and how cool a story was that he was kind of the guy, and then it never really lived up to it. And then for him to have the ending at Oregon State, for him to lead the team in rushing, get the touchdown, have the big run, and kind of show what he was all about at the end, I thought that was a great story and really kind of the cherry on top of the Sunday there to really kind of end it and send them off to their 13th game. So I thought this was a successful year.
It was a great window, I think, also into Jimmy Rogers. The way that he spoke about Angel Johnson in the post-game press conference, he got choked up, a little emotional.
Yeah.
And you don't see that much from him. I mean, he's a real stoic guy, right? That's kind of their thing on television, Jim. They well, is he going to smile today? But you see a little bit, I think there's a different, there's two Jimmy Rogers. There's the guy that's on the sideline. There's the guy that I think is behind the cameras. And I think he let that come through a little bit, talking about Angel Johnson. Also, if you see, any of their videos in the locker room after they clinched, when he came in the locker room, post Oregon State, I mean, I've never seen that. I've never seen him act like that. I've never seen him smile and celebrate like that. So you get kind of two different versions of Jimmy Rogers, Jim.
Yeah, I look at it this year, and it reminds me of rookies when they come into the NFL, and we've interviewed them before, and you don't really see a whole lot of personality. I remember Russell Okung one time. I was like, man, he really doesn't say much. But as time goes on, you see more of their personality come out. I think that's going to happen with Jimmy Rogers, and we're starting to see that a little bit. I mean, we all know that he's been dull to this point, at least publicly with the media, and that's fine because he's a hell of a football coach, and you can tell all of his players are behind him. And I thought it was cool to see what he tweeted out on Thanksgiving, where we saw a picture of his family, his wife and his 2 kids, and they're out in the Palouse, the wheat fields and everything. And so I think we're going to more and more, like I said, see a different side of Jimmy Rogers. We're going to see that personality come out in seasons to come.
Paul, where do we, now that you went there, Paul, where do we stand with the family photos in the open, where the family's looking like they're having a great time with professional photographers? I'm a thumbs down on that, Paul. I'm surprised that Jimmy
Why would
went
you be
down
thumbs
that
down
road.
on that? I know you're addressing Paul.
Surprised
I don't care.
He went down the manufactured family photos in the fields or by the trees and looking at each other.
Why don't you do that with Kaisa and Mari and Owen and try it out
one time? And I swore I'd never do it again.
What?
Out.
Why? I think it's great. I mean, it shows, he smiled on the sidelines. They caught him on camera on the CW, for goodness sakes.
It did.
And
yes,
even Ryan Leaf went, holy crap, we got to frame that. Then they Photoshopped, Jimmy Rogers smiling. I mean, he had a great smile. I think it was a freshman had a sack or, they kind of stuffed him at the end of the game and they just went nuts because they saw him smile. The same thing you guys just mentioned. I don't know why you would, kind of begrudge him the opportunity to show a little human side of Jimmy.
No, the smile is fine. I'm talking about the family photos.
But that's what I'm saying.
That everyone does.
Well, no, okay, cool.
I'm going to show you one of mine if I
I can't wait to see one of yours.
Well, my kids
are you in the field somewhere? Are you out in the open?
He's prancing.
Holding hands, looking at each other.
What's the under-over on dogs involved in the family photo with Jim? I'm willing to bet there's a couple of dogs in there. And
I'm sure the dog is more prominent than anyone.
Look at, he's going to grab the photo off the wall. But I think it shows the human side of Jimmy, which I think is great. I know Jimmy, he's actually a pretty good dude.
Stuff.
Look at that. Let's see. Is there a dog in there?
Yeah, but that's not like professionally done.
No, that's just a lean up against the tree.
That's not what I'm talking about.
He's prancing out in the Palouse wheat field. So that was
That's not what we're talking about. That's like a family friend took that picture.
That's a nice
I'm talking
family
about
photo
you
up
go
against the
pay.
tree.
No, this guy was a professional photographer, though. He is a friend of ours.
Oh, that guy's
a professional.
professional.
Wrong with that?
You should have gotten your money back on that one.
Yeah,
You got hosed.
I would.
Dude.
It's not late. It's not too late to get your money back.
Yeah, you kind of got screwed on that picture, man. Look at your hair. It's sticking straight up in the
What
air.
is wrong with that?
Is there
could've
lightning in
taken
the
that
area?
picture.
Looks like you got electricity going through your dome there, dude. Look
feel
at
like
that.
maybe you guys should have dressed up
You
a
guys
little bit.
suck.
You think for a family
You
photo?
guys suck. I wouldn't listen to this if I was anybody.
Hey,
Hey, we
family
did-
photo.
Do you ever
Was it-
do the
was it
one where
just-
you dress up like cowboys? You have the old photo where you got the guns. You're
Lord.
kind of the old
You think
1890
maybe in a
thing.
family photo you can't be in shorts? And I think I saw shorts that were jean
Why don't
shorts.
you say
that
how
were
nice
rolled up.
that is? And you're supposed
Your
to say,
your
God, Jim, you have
wife
a
and your
beautiful
kid-
family.
You do, but you look.
Well, why don't you say that
weather.
shit instead of the other shit?
I don't know,
I thought your family looked great. You just looked a little like
How
there was
much did you
lightning
pay
in the
for
area,
that?
That's all.
Did you pay a lot for that, or
Was
I
that
can't
a
remember what I
professional?
paid him.
I thought your brother
Look,
took that
come
picture
on.
or something.
that looked like it was taken on old like disposable Kodiak
No, Jesus
or Kodak,
Christ.
not Kodiak. Kodak.
God, you
Was that
suck.
like at the lake? Where was that at? Is that in your
What the
backyard?
hell? Why do people listen to you anyway? I don't get it. God.
So to get back to the season, you guys are right. It's 6-6, good season, not great, but could have been. I mean,
Could have been
they
great.
legitimately could have been 8-4, Jim. I mean, you mentioned Oregon State. They had no business losing that game at Oregon State. I really don't. I believe that they had no business losing the Virginia game. They should have won the Virginia game.
I agree.
They outplayed
Okay,
Virginia.
all right. And I know I'm being strangely positive here.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right about all that, but still, after the Idaho game, I was starting to think, man, we need a new coach. I mean, that's my knee-jerk reaction.
Didn't you write a column about firing
you
him,
did.
get moving on?
Knee-jerk reaction. God, if we lose to Idaho, how long a season? I mean, we might go 0-12. I mean, that's like, I was at that point. And
so
then,
your opinion has changed.
And then the North Texas game, though, was worse than Idaho because at least we beat Idaho. We managed to somehow hang in there. But that North Texas game, I'm going, really? We're on the road and we're losing to a team that normally in the Pac-12 days we wouldn't even be playing. If we ever played North Texas back in the Pac-12 days, it would have been in Pullman, not in Waco or wherever the hell they play. I forget, Denton. And then not only did we just got our doors blown off in that game. And for us to rally from those two games, especially that one, not so much the Idaho game, I thought it was a terrific season.
You know what's interesting is that many people, and I'm not criticizing those who have this opinion, looked at this schedule and were like, oh, geez, what a throwaway schedule. You know, I think looking back on the home schedule wasn't great. I mean, listen, you got Louisiana Tech who came into town. That wasn't really fun to watch in Toledo. Looking back on it, though, the games they went on the road, this is a damn entertaining season.
Yeah.
I mean, James Madison, North Texas, these are two teams that are going to be, you know, as we record this on Tuesday, have a chance to be in the college football playoff. These are ranked teams having two coaches that have now taken better jobs, one at UCLA, one at Oklahoma State. I cannot believe Eric Morris, the guy that most 99% of Cougar fans could not stand. And I was one of them because all he did was throw bubble screens, for God's sakes. Now is running the Oklahoma State football program, and he's going to take that quarterback with them, and he'll probably have success there because he has a plethora of money there at Oklahoma State. But, you know, the JMU, obviously, what did I just mention?
North Texas.
North Texas. And then,
yep.
you know, Virginia and Ole Miss. I mean, that was, you want to talk about like a road schedule. It's pretty damn entertaining.
Very
for
much
the Cougs
so.
this year.
Well, look, think about it, Puck. 8 of the teams they played out of the 12 are going bowl games. And 6 of the teams out of the 8 that are coming into the Pac-12 are going to bowls. And the 2 teams, Oregon State and Colorado State, fired their coaches. They're not. I mean, think of the carnage. So setting up for 2026, it's going to be very, very entertaining, you know, when you think about that. And I found a stat that I thought it was interesting. The start of the 2024 season, WSU football has more wins than Arizona, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, Colorado, Oregon State, and the exact amount as the UW. How about that? Think about that. With the carnage the last 2 years, the stuff that has happened, and for the Cougs, you know, we're talking about, everybody talks about the bowl games. What is it? 9 out of the last 10 years, you know, with COVID and all the other stuff that comes in. And Wilner wrote a great article in the Seattle Times talking about that. And Wilner wrote a positive article on the Cougs. That's incredible. So I just think you got to give them some credit and some kudos, and just the Beavs and the Cougs hanging in there for 2 years and keeping this thing together, and then getting something to look forward to in 2026 is remarkable. And this is what I think of ESPN and Fox, for them to basically hang in there and figure out a way to survive for 2 years and to live. And that's what they've done. Great job.
So we go back, obviously, we go from, yes, it was a good season. Jimmy Rogers in year 1, Jim. I mean, kind of an evolution of him, kind of up and down. You wondered the decision with the quarterback. Why did, Potter came kind of out of nowhere, surprised a lot of people that Potter was the guy. He pulls the plug on that one, goes to Zevi. It's the running game. How would you evaluate so far year 1 for Jimmy Rogers?
Well, he gets an A from me. I know that early on I was giving him an F, and it was, like I said, knee-jerk. And so the only thing that I found curious about the season was talking about how we were going to run the ball. And we ended up doing that. But in the beginning, I like that he was willing to change and adjust, because I know his philosophy was to run more than we did. And yet, after that Idaho game, I thought, man, if the Vandals are able to stop us on the ground, what are these other opponents going to do? And in fact, I'm a shitty Coug fan. I admit it. I mean, I love the Cougs, but only to a point. I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars to go to the Ole Miss game and watch us just get
too bad
trampled.
Awesome.
And I know, Paul, and I really blew that. I have regrets. I'll always have regrets, because the next time, if I ever go to an Ole Miss game, it won't be when we play them. It'll be, I'll be in the Grove, and it won't be the same thing. So I missed out on that. But I just figured, man, we're losing to North Texas. We're losing to Idaho. How are we going to be competitive with the number 4 team in the country? And we were competitive. And he changed on the fly. And whatever people thought about Danny Freund, I mean, give him a break. Let's see how he does next year. Maybe with better players and better schemes, all that. I don't know. Maybe we'll be better next year. But I give Jimmy Rogers an A. Maybe I'm an easy grader. I know Charles Cole, my old journalism prof there at the Murrow School of Communication, he'd be like, oh my God, how can you give that guy an A? Because if you got a B from Charles Cole, you felt like you got an A. And but I'm going to go ahead and be an easy grader. I'm not grading on the curve. I'm giving Jimmy Rogers an A. What do you think, Paul?
I'm going with a B, and I'll tell you why. And you are an easy grader, big boy. And here's why. And I'm a little harder on that front because they lost games that they should have won. Okay. Yeah. They lost the Oregon State game that they lost that game, and Oregon State did not win.
Well, our kicker missed a field goal. We would have won in overtime.
They got outplayed, they got outcoached, and they stunk up the field. That was a bad loss. They lost the Virginia game, and a game that was winnable. They were winning up to that last moment where they had a brain fart on a special teams, a couple of penalties. That was a winnable game on the road that they had a chance to win. They lost 4 games that were one-score games that they had opportunities. I go back to my junior year in 1980. We lost 6 games of the 7 by one-score games and then came back and won 8 the next year. Good teams figure out a way to win those one-score games. And this was a game, this tore Jimmy up. He lost more games this year than he's lost as a head coach, the entire time he's been coaching, and it ripped him to shreds. So he'll be the first to admit that this was not a successful year, even though they went 6-6, and he stepped up. All the carnage was 75 new guys traveling all across the country, going to 3 time zones, doing all those different things that he did. And I'm a hard grader because offensively, I think they got a little conservative in the second half. I think they basically had to play good Zevi, bad Zevi. I will say this, I thought good Zevi, and I love the game plan that Freund had against Oregon State because they rolled Zevi. They had routes going upfield instead of going sideline to sideline. He's much better when he gets outside the pocket and he's throwing the ball down the field. Not deep throws, but 15, 20-yard throws. He's much more accurate. And they were throwing on first down. They had Oregon State completely baffled because then that opened up the run, and they had one of their best offensive games. And Oregon State was done after that first half. And so I just thought overall, this was a B, from opportunity because there was missed opportunities there, for the Cougs to take advantage. If they would have been able to take advantage, then I would have given them an A.
Okay. Why? Wait a minute. You know why I gave him an A? I mean, not only just the tangible stuff that we always talk about, the football things. The guy was great against the spread. And for those of us who bet on the Cougs, we appreciate that. We were a really good team against the spread this year. I won money on Cougar football this year, okay? So I'm giving him an A.
Those are the important stuff.
Yeah, I guess
you're right about
that makes sense.
You're right about the game plan, I think, against Oregon State offensively, because they did. They threw it early. They moved him out. They didn't just commit right, to the run right away. And you look at the end of the day, that's probably what they want to see from their offense, right? 28 attempts. Remember, he had 21 in the first half.
Yes.
That's a lot. That had to have been a season high. Maybe when Potter played against San Diego State, he had more. But 21 attempts in the first half, ends up with 28, but they still ran the ball 34 times, $186, so average 5.5, on the ground. That's kind of where they want to be offensively. And I think if you ask Jimmy Rogers, you build a perfect quarterback, what would it look like? And I think he would probably say it's someone with Potter's arm and someone with the mobility of Eckhouse, because that's kind of what's kind of a missing for them. They need to have both. And I think we talked about this in the beginning of the season. It was going to be a learning curve. I thought defensively, for whatever reason, it was going to be an easier transition to what they ran from Dickert to this. Because, one, they kind of run a similar system anyways. They talked about it. Bob, the defensive coordinator, said, he spent time under Jake Dickert. He was a grad assistant under him. They were going to run something very similar. The big difference was going to be offensively. And this has been a reoccurring theme on this show. People just weren't prepared what it was going to look like. I just didn't think they understood how different it was going to be. And it's just not the look of it. They're in the shotgun the whole time. It's not like they're under center running I, but it's a mentality difference. It just is, and it was going to be a tough transition, and it was at times. It was a bumpy road, and I know the reaction from fans is to fire the offensive coordinator. They're not going to fire him. That ain't happening. They're not going to remove on from Danny Freund. Several reasons. One, he doesn't seem like a head coach that's going to just react to 1 year with a coach. Two, they can't afford it. It's not going to happen. He's going to be back here next season, and we'll see where they will go offensively. I mean, obviously there's positives and negatives. I mean, and I think you can probably say, Jim, that the offense was a positive and a negative at times. I think there's some other stuff too. I think one thing I'd like to see him clean up would be the penalties. I think the penalties have got to get better. And there was a lot of procedural penalties, and there was a lot of coming out of timeouts penalties. And that kind of does fall on coaching. So I think that would be something in year 2 they would have to clean up. I don't know. Does anything else stand out to you?
No, I just, again, to stress the positive, I like how they collectively played together, and you could tell that this team was in on every play, giving it their best effort. And I know that sounds like, an old cliche and all that, but sometimes you watch teams and you wonder if they've thrown in the towel or they're waving the white flag. And this team played from the very opening kickoff to the very final horn. So I just really appreciated that about them, because we got the most out of the talent that they had. And so I appreciated that as an alum and as a fan watching those kids this year.
And Paul, that is probably, and again, it was a question mark in the beginning of the season, first few games, the poor tackling. I don't know. I thought that was something that got better as the season, as the week went on. And this defense, how they rally and flew to the football. And what was the biggest difference for me of looking at where this defense played this year, Paul, opposed to the last few years under Jake Dickert, who, again, was a defensive-minded head coach, was, do you remember any busted plays that a team scored on them? Like a bust, an absolute secondary bust.
I remember a guy falling down, giving up a touchdown. I remember, even the James Madison play, the quarterback making a hell of a play on that touchdown pass. Even a gap that was missed on the 58-yard touchdown run. The guy made a great move in the hole to bust that run. That wasn't necessarily a busted play. That was just a better offensive play. So very few. Now, you go back to the North Texas game, they had 6 drives. The average starting line for North Texas was a 19-yard line for Washington State. That was a one-off. That game was just a pooch screw. But no, not many that I can think of that were really busted plays. So just the rallying to the football. To give you a couple of stats that, being the stat geek, Jim likes to talk about, the gambling stuff and the point spread and things like that. I like to talk about stats. So let's just the Cougar defense finished 18th in the country in scoring, which is pretty good. 19th in total defense. In yards per play, they only gave up 5 yards per play. Now remember, the 259 point games, they got gashed. And then they came back and still finished 33rd in the country, with some of the best defenses in the country. The offense went up against defenses, the top 7 defenses in the nation they faced this year. And so it really was impressive, the quality of teams that Washington State faced this year, and still did pretty darn well, both offensively and defensively. So for me, the defense was remarkable in terms of where they started and then where they finished. They gave up 288 yards against the Beavs. They had 6 sacks, 9 tackle for losses, and basically that one touchdown at the end. I was really hoping they were going to get a shutout. We had 3 shutouts our senior year. We should have had 4, but I effed up a coverage on a kickoff against Oregon. We were up 40-0, and I got bored, and I was the safety on the kickoff, and Ward Leland kicked it out of bounds, and I said, screw it, I'm going to go make the tackle because I wasn't doing much on defense. Ran down, got ear-holed. Steve Brown took the kickoff 85 yards back. We blocked the extra point, won 40-6. We would have had our 4th shutout that year, which would have been a school record. So bad, Paul. I had to run on Monday for that one. But that cost our team a school record and a shutout. And so do your job.
Did the All-American Selection Committee miss that play?
No, fortunately they didn't. They didn't see that. They don't count that against on the defense. That was a special teams play, not a defensive play. But again, I frickin' didn't do my job, and so that was a lesson well learned and was pointed out on film multiple times as I got F-bombed up one side down the other, rightfully so.
So we got important dates that are coming up this week as we record this on Tuesday. This week you'll have the early signing period, and this is the calendar of college football that everyone always complains about it, and again, rightfully so. But the early signing period will start on Wednesday, will end there on Friday. The second signing day, right, is February 4th, which used to be the original signing day, right, February 4th. And then the transfer portal, and this is where the big mess is, The transfer portal will open up on January 2nd, and it will close on January 16th, which is just ridiculous because you've got the college football playoff quarterfinals starting on December 31st, by the way, and the 1st. The semifinals are on January 8th. So you're having guys who are playing in this thing probably making decisions that, well, I'm out, I'm going someplace else. And then every bowl game, which there are way too many. There's 34.
I heard there's 80 teams that qualify this year.
I thought there were 40. I thought there were close to 40, Puck.
Maybe
there's 80 teams that are playing in this thing. When we played, there were
missing
16.
six other.
There were 16
it's so
bowl games,
stupid.
and that was it.
It's so dumb. It's way too many bowl games. But anyways, every bowl game takes place on January 2nd or before. So you got all these teams that are in these bowl games, and you're just like, hey, can you feel
how many Cougs do you think are going to opt out?
Oh, there'll be some. There'll be some that basically haven't played that, are going to transfer somewhere else, or somebody's chirping in their ear saying, hey, you're worth, bazillions and come to our school. That we're going to lose. Washington State's going to lose some players, and, there's going to be some guys because they're already talking. They've been talking since October, reaching out to family, friends, and players. It's just, you're hearing coaches complaining about it. So we're going to lose some guys, but I think Jimmy's done a nice job of building culture, and a lot of the young guys that got in and played, that's an important deal. He's got to keep that base, but I think we're going to lose some guys.
Of course, it happens to everyone. All right,
year.
The bowl projections. It's all over the place, the bowl projections for Washington State. ESPN has them going two places, right? One is the Hawaii Bowl against Hawaii on Christmas Eve. I think we'd all sign up for Hawaii.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Christmas Eve in Honolulu if you were going to go to the game. The other one is the New Mexico Bowl that no one in the world wants to go play. No one wants to go to Albuquerque. One, I don't want to play New Mexico either because Jason Eck is a hell of a football coach, and that's on December 27th. So that's ESPN. CBS Sports also has them playing New Mexico in the New Mexico Bowl. Not really much of a reward for New Mexico, is it? We got to stay here and play in our own stadium.
Even the New Mexico Bowl people don't want New Mexico playing it because they want other teams to come in for the hotel motel money. They need that for the Visitor and Convention Bureau people, which is
Sports Illustrated has them playing in the Potato Bowl.
Oh, lovely. That's in Boise.
Against Fresno State on Tuesday, December 22nd. How does Boise sound on December 22nd to Jim Moore as he takes his whole family that was in that lovely picture taken by a professional photographer?
Well, I didn't know about the Potato Bowl option there, and if that's on the table, it's only 5 hours from Bend.
You're in.
The kids will be off on Christmas break, and let's load up the Ridgeline and head to Boise for the game. What the hell?
Athlon apparently Athlon's still a thing. I didn't know Athlon still did a magazine. They've got New Mexico. Yahoo Sports says the Independence Bowl
in Shreveport, Louisiana. Right?
In Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh boy, that's a garden spot.
And it'd be a rematch against Louisiana Tech.
Oh God.
Yeah, let's see that one again.
That's all right. You know what? Whoever they play, wherever we're going, we're going to be watching. Right?
Okay. Well, of course. Yeah. The Athletic has them playing Arkansas State in the First Responder Bowl. Care to guess where the First Responder Bowl is?
Memphis.
No, but Memphis will play a part in this in a second. Dallas. It's at the stadium where SMU plays.
Oh. Okay.
Now, speaking of Memphis, Pro Football Network has the Cougs playing in the Liberty Bowl.
That's a Memphis.
This is by far and away the best matchup against Kansas State.
Ooh,
okay.
In the Liberty Bowl, and
I've done a Liberty Bowl game for an independent radio station out of Vegas. That was fun. We had a Liberty Bowl's a good time.
I think we all agree though, Christmas Eve in Hawaii would be the best one.
Good luck with flights. That
reminds me of 1988 when we played in the Aloha Bowl, and that was on Christmas Day.
We got on the air 5 minutes before the pregame because we couldn't get a phone line off the island. Bob Robertson and I did that game. And it was carnage.
Paul, just put that cord over there.
Right, on the radio dial, gunmetal gray helmets, crimson jerseys.
Split left out. There's the engineer. He's left
right.
Okay,
Right,
I got a
guess they're back to
quick
pass.
Bob Robertson story. When I first started, I was 25 years old. I had no idea I was
None of
doing
your
high
stories
school
are quick.
football my freshman year, or my first year in Spokane. So I asked Bob, I go, Bob, you're the god. How do you want me to interact with you on the air? He goes, one, you're going to stick your arm out when you want to talk. And then when the play ends, you come in and do your thing. And you just say what you want to say. But as soon as the huddle breaks, shut the fuck up. I went, I can do that. Okay.
Did he really say?
Yes, he did.
Did he really say shut the fuck up?
Yes.
Bob Robertson?
Bob Robertson. Yes, he did.
Okay.
God bless his soul. I love you for that. But and I just went, I can do that. Thank you, Bob. So we evolved over the 14 years that there was a little bit more couthness, from that
when I'm ready
perspective.
to talk, you shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Okay, here we go, Jesse. Yes, they're back to pass. Looks left, looks right. Over the middle, has a man complete down to the 15.
That's why he's a Hall of Famer, baby. That's the greatest ever. I mean, he nailed it. He's very succinct about what he wanted. That's what he said, and I did that. So there, God bless his soul, Bob Robertson.
I heard a guy once, my favorite Bob Robertson impression, where he said, he had the great line of, Cougars trail 35-0, just underway here at Martin Stadium.
Oh, my God.
Every time I think about it, because we've had games like that.
Just underway.
Just underway. Cougars trail 35-0.
Lordy schmordy. We will when we find out where they're going, bowl game, we'll reconvene. Let's get through the signing period, maybe get through the portal. And if you want these players to remain, you may be on the fence. I get it. Totally understand. Not going to tell anyone how to, I guess, spend your money, but I guess that's what I'm going to do. I'm just saying, if you can, donate to one of the collectives, whether it's the Playfly, the Cougar Collective, the Cougar Athletic Fund. Donate if you can, because this is just the way it is right now, and just a little bit will help this team. Will help Jimmy Rogers maintain his roster.
Just to give you an idea, the reason lovely Lil Lane Kiffin left. Beside the $13 million, he also got $25 million a year from LSU for NIL every year that he's there that he can utilize for football. So don't underestimate how important the NIL is. Washington State's not getting $25 million. But if you like the Tony Freemans of the world, if you like, some of the players that you see, out there, the NIL in some capacity makes a difference for these kids. And it gives Jimmy the opportunity to fight the fight that he's having to go up against, because that's the first question that these kids are asking. Is there an opportunity for funds? And if there are, what kind of funds are you talking about? And I'm sure garbanzo beans and and Cougar cheese and Drew Bledsoe wine is all good, but having some cash is also helpful. So the collective does make a difference. Whatever you can do does make a difference. Please help out.
Yeah, you hear that, Jim?
Garbanzo beans.
Yeah, that's
I wasn't quite sure
just
that.
FYI.
Oh, no, listen, I donated to the 1890 Club, and as much as I love Cougar football, I can see a star in the making like anyone else, and if they want to give my money to Ace Glass, that's fine by me.
Yeah, there you go. The 1 year wonder, you mean?
It's going to take a lot more than just you.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot of me.
Glass.
What a
in
great
Cougar
name.
uniform.
By the way, that
next
wasn't he the WCC Freshman of the Week for setting what do you have, 40 points in the Maui Classic? Yeah, he was great. On a radar.
Paul Sorensen, thank you so much. You're the best.
Go Cougs, and thank you Flat Stick Pub for your sponsorship and support. We love you guys.
Jim Moore, you're the best as well. Thank you for doing it all year long. You're the best.
I'll echo what Paul said about Flat Stick Pub, and thank you very much. And go Cougs.
Go Cougs.